So I wanted to share a win this week. I'm super excited because I finally had time to process all the feedback I've gotten from you guys, and I am rewriting our core curriculum. And it's going to be another new 10 or 12 videos. It's going to take me a few months to do this, but I'm super excited to have a more streamlined approach that I think will be more clear and concise and effective. And it's all thanks to you guys and all the feedback that I've gotten. So thank you for that. And I'll promise I'll work hard on it here this year, get it out as quick as I can. So a lot of questions that kind of trace back to how the digestive and elimination system works and how the practices I'm teaching address that. So the way healthy pooping works, you're eating food and mixes in with some saliva and gets crunched up and starts heading on down to the stomach and goes to the stomach. The sensors that are in your stomach, they detect distension, expansion. And once they detect that, they start the peristaltic action, which is the sort of like the squishing. It's the same muscles that make your stomach growl because they're basically squishing on emptiness and they're like, hey, feed me. But this is the actual muscle action that moves the food through your digestive tract. And it is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. That distension fires it off. And then when everything's working the way it should, it starts moving through to the small intestine. And there it gets bacteria digesting it. And our body's absorbing some of the metabolites from that and the nutrients from the food. And then eventually it makes its way down to, again, through peristaltic action, makes its way down to the large intestine, where it starts sucking some of the moisture out to solidify the waste that's left in there. And then, of course, that goes to the rectum. And then when your rectum expands, that's when you feel like, oh, gotta go. And there's a whole lot of things that can go wrong along this path. The thing that I focus on, because it's the thing that's not addressed by most of the other advice that you find either online or through your medical professional, is embodied tension. When you have like a stress headache or like a stiff neck because of tension, you're holding tension in your neck and it's causing a headache, can cause you to like clench your jaw, and that is an example of stress taking physical form in your body, causing tension in your body, embodied tension. And when that happens at any place in your gut, whether it's your esophagus down here before the food gets to your stomach, whether it's at your stomach or around the large intestine, or especially the rectum or anus, if those things are clenched tight and the peristaltic action's happening up here or down here, or maybe that's been shut down altogether, you're gonna have a blockage build up there. And so the core of the practices that we're doing, after you do all the obvious things to make sure that the hydration is right, the electrolytes, the fiber are all in a good balance for your body that it should be able to process that food. After all that's taken care of, addressing the nervous system related issues of making sure that peristaltic action is functioning all throughout the digestive tract. The nerves that detect distension are firing and communicating correctly. All of this can be either overstimulated and therefore they don't function, or they can be shut down and understimulated, and so they're not turning on. And so that's why we have different tracks. You'll hear me talk about, okay, overstimulated people need to relax and calm down, calm their nervous system, calm their autonomic nervous system, therefore calming their digestive tract. And people that are in a shutdown state need to wake things back up. And those are more the like stimulating exercises, which if you follow the shutdown track, you'll see that those are more stimulating. And we have to find a sweet spot in there. And I wouldn't obsess too much about which state you're in. You'll get a sense of things if you start doing the exercises that are part of the overstimulation track, which is where most people seem to fall based on surveys. If you feel too stimulated by the exercises, then you need to shift gears and do things that are more calming. And if you feel like those exercises are not doing anything for you, maybe you need to do something more stimulating to wake you up. So this is where you just got to listen to your body, practice mindfully so that you actually get the proper feedback. So there's tons of scientific evidence about when you have embodied tension, that it can affect your body chemistry, your brainwave patterns, your heart rhythm. If you want to read more in depth about that, I do have a review posted somewhere on Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural. He has probably done more to wire up people when they're doing different like Qigong and meditation and this sort of thing, and actually testing the brain waves, body chemistry, telomeres, and the stability of our DNA, epigenetics, genes turning off and on due to an environmental response. So lots of interesting scientific data being collected there by Dr. Dispenza. That would be my go-to. And then if you want just a general primer on somatic healing and like the process of how trauma gets embodied, I would read probably anything by Peter Levine, but Waking the Tiger is really good and accessible. And there's The Body Keeps the Score. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but The Body Keeps the Score. Excellent bunch of stories around this. So it's real. There's scientific backing. For people that have been sort of avoiding it because it sounds too woo-woo, you really got to experience it to really appreciate it. I'll never forget my first experience. I was like in my 20s, so it was a while ago. I had a friend that invited me to a Qigong retreat, and I had already been doing yoga for a while, and I had been involved in martial arts for a long time. And he invited me to a Qigong retreat, and it all seemed very mystical and woo, but I was down for it, so I went. And I remember I'm in this room there was about 350 people. There was a big event, and we were working on each other in pairs, doing this, holding a posture and doing breath work, and it was super intense. And all of a sudden, I mean, there's people like moaning and groaning and crying and writhing around. I burst out hysterical laughter. I'm rolling around. I cannot stop. Tears out of my eyes, snot out of the nose, just slobbering mess. And a couple of people just are like staring at me and just bleed. It's like, that's not the usual response to this. But for me, that was suppressed joy. Things, embodied emotional tension can take lots of forms. And for me, it was, I had been holding down my joy, apparently. And it can come out in all kinds of ways, and just be open to it. And it's fun. And some of that, you might experience some of that when you're doing some of the practices in some of the videos that are labeled like the tension release exercises, especially, is where you feel that. But any of the breath work can trigger that. And what I find is once you open that valve, once you understand it and feel it and experience it that first time, and this is where like some in-person coaching is really valuable to really transmit that. It's very hard to do over the internet. If you work with somebody and you get that first experience, then you know how to tap into it again, and you open that valve up, and then it comes out at all sorts of random times, even inconvenient ones, when you just feel like you got to have a good cry and it's going to come out. I encourage you to try those things if you've been resistant to them because they sound too weird. There's plenty of scientific evidence and 100 times more anecdotal evidence that this stuff is very powerful and works. And after you have the first one, you don't doubt it anymore. So I encourage you to try. And I think that's all I want to say about that. I want to move on to some questions. All right. Okay, so this person, very fit, but constipated, eats good. I'm seeing yogurt, fruit, rice, lentils, drink plenty of water and tea, runs 3 times a week, 10,000 steps a day, constipated. Okay. I work with a lot of athletes, people that are very fit, a couple of common things. One, get your electrolytes checked, or if you don't have access to that kind of medical care, add some electrolytes. I like ionic lights because there's no like sugar or colors or anything in there. You can get just a little bottle of ionic lights and add it to your water. But whatever brand. And another easy one is just magnesium citrate. That's people usually have a pretty fast response to that if you take it at night. And so just see if some electrolytes in your workout water and in the evening helps you feel better. And then the other thing that I have found also from coaching lots of athletes is that these driven type A personalities, it's hard to put words to, but these people that are super driven and willing to work really hard on fitness or achievement also tend to hold a lot of stress, a lot of tension, and releasing that is going to give you a ton of energy. So I would recommend just keep doing the practices. And if you haven't tried those trauma release exercises or the somatic immersions, which really get you into your body and open things up and let things release, give some of those a try. Okay. Let's see, this one is about taking a particular osmotic laxative. I'm going to stop mentioning brands. I don't want to get in trouble. Taking osmotic laxative makes me very nauseous. Keeps packing more loose stool up against that hardened, tense spot. And yeah, the distension is going to cause nausea. Keep doing the practices and see if you can relax that tense spot and back off on the osmotic laxatives. They can be helpful, but they're not the long-term fix. Okay, this person's been constipated for a few days, sitting on the toilet for an hour, breaking out in sweats and heart palpitations. Okay, a couple things I want to say about that. An hour is too long. If you're sitting on the toilet for an hour and the whole time you're sitting there, your blood pressure is causing all the tissues around your rectum and anus to swell a little bit. And so you're setting yourself up for hemorrhoids and that sort of thing. So if you sit for like 15 minutes and nothing's happening, you should get up and walk around, move around, go do something and try again just a little bit later, maybe 30 minutes later, or when you feel the urge again. But don't just sit there forever. And as far as like the sweating and heart palpitations, the vagus nerve, that part of your autonomic nervous system that controls all of your gut, that also controls your heart and your blood pressure. And yeah, it would make sense that if you've overstimulated that nerve, that you might get really intense response in your heart rate and blood pressure, which can make you feel woozy. So yeah, just don't sit there that long. Get up, move around, and try it again when things are settled down. Okay, that's good. Really, the key to this practice is daily attention as you expand your bodily awareness and release those tense spots and really make it a project to take care of your gut. You're going to feel better. Pick a time, commit to doing it, and get started, or keep doing it, or recommit to doing it, and try the ones that you've skipped because they didn't sound like what you needed. Just do it. So, okay, I'll see you around the community. Thanks.